Hi, welcome to Planetary Calendars, Astro Portraits. I'm Ralph D. Meachus, one of the calendar's astrologers. This is part of our series on actresses that play in action roles. Now, the next one we've done a whole series now, and they really are fascinating. I think it's going to turn into a paper or maybe a documentary. Is Helen Hunt. Now, she is not the person you normally think of in terms of like action roles of, guns and such, but she has played in a bunch of roles where it's taken a lot of physical energy, a lot of physical activity, where she seems to be in danger a lot. Okay? But she has those classic markers that you see in this kind of role. Strong Mercury planets, Mercury signs, strong Mars signs. Oftentimes a strong Mercury, strong Mars. Why? They're like the pawns of the zodiac. They'll get into stuff. They don't really judge. They just follow orders and they get into stuff. Now, she's also someone who has done directing as well, and it's kind of interesting that her chart has certain similarities to other people who have been actors and done directing. But let's really get into her chart quickly. She's got the sun in Gemini. Okay, so there's that Mercury-ruled sun. She also has Mercury and Venus both in Gemini. So now you got these planets highly elevated. She's born like 12:55 p.m. on June 15th in Culver City, California, obviously, in the industry. The sun is within 1 degree of the midheaven, so this is someone who, wants to achieve and expects to achieve in life. A lot of her chart is above the horizon. In fact, the only planets that are actually below the horizon is, the Moon and Jupiter have just set in the chart, and Saturn's below the horizon and Neptune. But a whole group of planets are actually above the horizon. It's not as obvious when you look at the chart because we use whole sign houses, and her ascendant is at 24 degrees Virgo, another Mercury-ruled sign. So we got the Sun, Mercury, and Venus. Remember, Mercury's in rulership. Mercury's one of the two major signs of Mercury. Gemini is in rulership at 0 degrees, right there at the threshold, conjunct the Venus. Tends to make her very good with languages, among other things, speaking. And then she has in Virgo, starting at the ascendant, the asteroid Vesta, the asteroid Juno, the asteroid Ceres, the nodal point Selena, Pluto, Mars, and Uranus, all in Virgo. So even if you left the asteroids out, you just figured the ascendant, Uranus, Mars, and Pluto, that's 4 points in another Mercury-ruled sign. This is a Mercury girl. She really is very, very affected by that. But, we usually look for two things in these charts. We look for Mercury and Mars. Now, her Mars is in Virgo, okay? A Mercury-ruled sign. It's conjunct Pluto, and it's conjunct Uranus. It sits between Pluto and Uranus. Uranus is at the star Regulus, the royal star. So Uranus, it just really gives her a certain magnetism. And remember too, all these planets are just above the horizon in what's called the classic Gogolin spot. It's a place of tremendous leverage. It means a person who's really focused on this, so that Mars, Pluto, and Uranus, all in this area brings a lot of energy, has a lot of leverage there. At the same time that the Mercury and Venus, also in Mercury-ruled signs, are also in the Gogolin spot. So these planets have tremendous leverage over these areas. But where's the other Mars component? I mean, Mars in Virgo is actually a very, practiced, very detailed-oriented sign. What's going on in the Mars-ruled signs? Well, we have the Moon and Jupiter conjunct in Aries. So she's got the Sun in Mercury-ruled signs, and she's got the Moon in Mars-ruled sign, and the Moon is conjunct Jupiter, the athletic sign. And where is it? It's in the 8th house, one of the houses of Mars, the house that relates to Scorpio, feminine power. So it's masculine Mars in a house of feminine power conjunct Jupiter that makes everything bigger. It gives her a great athletic quality. She's someone who's very, very quick to kind of step into the situation. She does it even without thinking about it, which is funny because the Virgo rising is a funny position. They will, if they see a situation where they can help, they'll step right into it without thinking about it, especially if they have Mars rising. They'll step right into it. Mars conjunct Pluto really makes the Mars more intense. The Mars-Pluto conjunction is a very intense conjunction. It's two small planets, but they're both intense. They're both red. They get into stuff, and having it in the Gogolon spot means she really gets into things easily, and that's one of the reasons why she's gotten these kind of roles. She'll work with directors, and they'll say, "Well, we want you to do this," and she'll say, "Okay," and she'll go ahead and do it. She's not, "Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I'm going to get my hands straight." No, she's not going to worry about that. If you saw her in Tornado, I think it was in Tornado, where she's covered in mud in various parts. I mean, the stunts in that were just wild. The amount of times when she's just covered in mud or covered with hay or covered was hysterical. Which is not something you expect from someone with so much Virgo in their chart. But they asked her to do it, so she said okay, and she went ahead and did it. Another thing that's very interesting, we see this in a lot of charts, is that the chart is primarily above the horizon. These people who live their life out in the open, people who have these big careers, so much of the chart is out in the open. They're born during the daytime, and there's a lot of planets up there. You got the Saturn, which is in Aquarius in the 6th house, that's below the horizon, which actually is interesting, has a lot to do with kind of working with technology. And movies is primarily where she's worked, It's a technological field more than most of the theatrical arts. I mean, yeah, on stage they have lighting, but movies are, it's all technological. What's interesting is that she doesn't have a big 12th house. Usually people in the movies have a large or very active 12th house. Now, admittedly, with so many planets up above the horizon in that Gogolon spot, I mean, Vesta having a mission. I mean, Vesta conjunct the rising has a lot to do with her being seen as kind of a feminine archetype and having a very strong sense of mission. Vesta conjunct the rising makes people really feel like they have a strong sense of mission. Juno at the rising, once again, gives her a very strong sense that she wants to partner with someone. Ceres there makes her a good shepherd. So you have all these three major asteroids there, and Selena, which tends to make people very gracious around other people. All at the rising means that she's a lovely person to be around, but very, very capable in a very feminine way. Remember, it's Virgo, one of the most feminine of the signs. But then you have Pluto, Mars, and Uranus there, so she's no shrinking violet, okay? So these, in many ways, act very much like a 12th house, but 12th has a lot to do with imagination. What do we have in the 12th house? Leo. We have Leo in the 12th house, the theater. And it goes back to the sun in the 10th house. Her career, as, Gemini, the person who talks, the person who communicates. But also in the 12th house is Pallas Athena. That's the warrior goddess. That's Diana. That's the powerful woman. It's in Leo on stage in the imagination. She's very good at playing these very independent women who have skills in a make-believe situation of the theater, of the movie studio. She really, and also, once again, it's one of the reasons why she would also make a very good director, that Pallas Athena in the 12th house in Leo being the director. The director is, after all, the leader. What's funny is that she has the part of fortune in Cancer in the 11th house. To her, it's a family business. Cancer, family. It's in the 11th house. It's her community. This community of working, she kind of mothers everybody in this situation. And with the Ceres at the rising, Ceres, Juno, Vesta Rising, Selena there, she really does mother the people around her. She's probably just lovely to work with. So that's just a real quick look at Helen Hunt. Interestingly, that combination of the sun, moon, sun in Gemini, Moon in Aries, that's the same as Angelina Jolie. But instead of having Virgo rising, she has Cancer rising. Interesting, isn't it? So that's the forecast. Make sure you come and see us at YouTube at Planetary Calendar Astrology. The whole title is actually with Ralph and Lonnie. Please subscribe. It's a big help to us. And click that little button so you get notification of when we have a new forecast and when we have a new portrait. We do the forecast every Friday for the coming week. We do the portraits every Tuesday. Okay, and we tend to have themes at certain times. And right now, like I said, this is part of actresses that work in action roles theme. And you can also come find us at planetarycalendar.com because you're going to need your planetary calendar, aren't you, to know what's going on. Until next time, thanks so much.